Hello and welcome to another Crowverse video for Book Week Scotland. Please do at the end of this video check out our others. There are 4 other authors taking part in Crowverse Book Week Scotland this year, which is very exciting. What I would like to talk to you about today is writing with children. Now, I thought this video fitted in perfectly with this year's Book Week Scotland theme, which is looking to the future. When I say writing with children, I mean either as a parent, as a teacher, as an older brother or sister, as an aunt or uncle, basically anybody with a child in their life who they would want to encourage in imaginative writing. Now, I have a few tips for you, no matter what your situation is. I do have a couple of ideas that will help your child get more of an imagination. Now, I'm never sure if imagination is something that people are born with, or born with more of than others, or less of, I'm not sure. But certainly throughout their childhood, it's either encouraged or discouraged. For example, imaginative play is not something that people should only do in nursery and primary 1. I teach older children, still primary school children, but I love watching what they come up with in their playtimes. Golden time and the one occasion where I have observed them in the playground. That one occasion, half of the class were pretending to be dogs. And that was fantastic because they were using their imagination the whole time. And I think that is to be encouraged. Second thing you should think about is, what does your child want to write? What do they really enjoy reading? Now, in my experience, a lot of children like to shock adults by writing horror. Now, I'm okay with that. You know, I don't get shocked, because if that's what they want to write, if they want to write about killer clowns, then fine. I mean, it's been done to death, but if that's what they are interested in, then okay. I'm okay with that. So think about what your child really likes to watch and to read, and encourage them to write about it. Now, I've never really done any fan fiction at all, but I know it's how a lot of authors have started out. A lot of very famous authors have started out writing fan fiction, so it's nothing to be nothing to turn your nose up at. So encourage them to think about what they like best and to write stories about that. My third tip is to surround the child with books if at all possible. Now, I know that space can be an issue and money can be an issue, but there are certain places where you can pick up books very, very cheaply. For example, before coronavirus, there were at least 2 regular book sales that I knew of going on in Wick in Caithness. Now, at those book sales, you could pick up about 10 books for £1 if they're children's books. So do think about going along and just collecting any book that takes your fancy, that you can afford. Now, one thing I can't understand is when people throw away books. What are you doing? Why do you do that? Quite honestly, unless you are giving them to a charity shop or to a book sale, don't just give them away because you've read them once and that's it. Now, even if you've read an adult book and you don't think your child will like it, just by having that book in the house, it gives them something to aspire to. Now, when I was little, I was always surrounded by books. We've always had a lot of books because we never threw any away. Now, I remember a lot of the spines of these books, and I remember thinking, I really want to know what that book is about, but I know it's way too big for me at the moment. And I want to read those books still. Maybe one day I will. But the fact is, it got me interested and it got me imagining what that book might be about. So keep the books that you buy. Don't throw them away unless you're giving them to a good cause. And yeah, encourage your child to think about what they might be about. Don't hide away books because you don't think they'll be good for children. I used to have some really scary books on my shelf because it's things that my elder sister was interested in. I still remember some of those spines. They were terrifying, but I was fascinated by them. My fourth tip is to join in with the writing endeavours. So if your child really wants to write something, why don't you have a go as well? You know, if your child can give up their time to do it, you should as well. I know you've probably got a job, you'll certainly have work to do, whether that's a job or around the house or whatever, but try and give a little bit of time to writing with your child if they're interested. And it just shows the child that the writing is worthwhile and it's worth doing, and it will make it a fun activity for you both. I think writing with other people is one of the best things, one of the most enjoyable things I do. So yes, I would definitely encourage you to have a go at writing with your child. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to try and write the next Man Booker Prize nominee. I'm not expecting that. You don't have to try and write a book that's going to be published even. You don't have to publish your books. You just write with your child to let them know that it is worthwhile doing. Now, my fifth and possibly final point, unless I think of one, an extra one, is that writers are not normal people. I love my friends to bits. I really do, and I love spending time with them. But there are certain discussions I know I can't have with them, and mostly they are writing discussions. I can't explain to them how I have things on my browser history, which I probably shouldn't have. Things like, how did pirates kill people? Or I know my sister's probably got things like the symptoms of the Black Death. You know, a writer is not a normal person, and that's okay. You know, it's fine not to be normal. So if your child starts talking to you about a book that they're writing, a story they're writing at school, and you start to think, oh, actually, this is a little bit disturbing, I don't want to hear about this, stop. And tell yourself, actually, this is a good thing. Okay, it might be disturbing, but this is how the child expresses themselves. This is how everybody who is a writer expresses themselves. So celebrate differences. You know, don't panic that your child is different because of what they're writing. It is something to be celebrated. Now, one final thing that I did think of, and I know some of my teacher friends will absolutely, definitely disagree with me on this, but personally, coming from it as a teacher and an author, imaginative writing is incredibly important. In fact, I would go as far as saying that imaginative writing is more important than functional writing. Things like letters and letters of complaint or persuasive writing. If your child has a good knowledge of imaginative writing, of writing stories and plays and poems, then those skills that are needed for the more conventional pieces of writing will come, because they are the same skills that you use for stories. Things like interesting word choice, things like making your sentence openers different to keep the reader's attention, and things like good grammar, you know, when to put in full stops, when to use exclamation marks to make your point. All these things can be developed with imaginative writing, and it is so much more fun. You know, I don't know, some children probably, but most children will want to write a story more than wanting to write a piece of persuasive writing. And if you can make the learning fun, then that's half the battle. So whether you're a teacher or a parent, encourage your child in imaginative writing. Now, hopefully those 6 tips that turned out to be will encourage a whole wave of new authors coming onto the scene in about 15 or so years. Now, currently I am competing in Nanowrimo, which is National Novel Writing Month, and the task is to write 50,000 words in 1 month, and it is quite steep. At the moment I'm on track, but I don't know if I'll manage to finish it by the end of November. I'm also doing this with my children, and that's not to say that I'm expecting them to write 50,000 words. What I'm doing is they have to write their own chapter book in 1 month. Now, we've planned it, and I've not seen all of their plan. I said I didn't want to know any spoilers. And I have read chapters 1 and 2, which they've written, and they are fantastic. And you know, one person came up to me the other day and they said, Miss Crow, I love doing this because I love writing stories, but I love writing something that I have complete control over. You know, and if the kids don't want to write about Cyril the Spider or whatever he's called, why should they have to? If they want to write about it or zombies, then they can do. You know, I guess they can't use the same characters because that's not good practice, but they can write about killer clowns or zombies. It's fine, you know, it's okay to do that because you're still practicing the skills for writing. Now I know that, again, some teachers will disagree with me on that, but honestly, I have seen the joy that all of my class are feeling right now in doing their own chapter book. So please do think about what I've said. Encourage any child in your life to love writing and enjoy writing yourself. Now have a lovely Book Week Scotland, and do check out some of the other videos from the other authors. I don't know where they'll be. I'm hoping after this week that they will be put up online for everybody to see. But yes, do enjoy them. Thank you and bye for now. The next book I'm writing is called Unicorn's Wool, and it's out on April the 10th, I think, next year. Now, you have a unique opportunity right now to sign up to be part of the book launch team. All that means is you get a free copy ahead of the book launch in exchange for an honest review on the launch date. If you would like to take part in this and be part of a very, very special group of people, then have a look at my website, www.clemencycrow.co.uk.